the fires of Gyamos, and an Exclamata, hearth goddess, keeper of the sacred flame, Taranos' great spear. We ask humbly that we may borrow your flame. Allow us to make good prayers and assist us in delivering our prayers to the Dewas. We burn for you, great spear goddess, mountain dweller, fire bringer, this incense. Know that it is freely given, and may it please. We give to you because you have given. We give to you so that you might continue to give to us. Hail to the Algoi, great gods, divine twins, you who come to us in our time of need, the sons of Dispater, sons of heaven, giant slayers, wolf stranglers, drivers of the enemies from our land, you who guard us and protect us as we set about in our travels. As you traveled to many different lands, and you forged your names, so too have I had the pleasure of traveling. Upon your swift steeds, equipped with your helms, your broadswords in my hand, no harm befell me, only was there joy to be found. We thank you. And as part of my fulfilling of oath, I will make to you a sacrifice of fruits and milk. We give to you thanks and praises. Hail to you, great Alkoi, great sun twins. We bring to you this offering of grape, as well as this apple. Know that it is freely given and deservedly given as part of our vow. Hail, great Alkoi, I bring to you this mug of milk. Know that it is freely given, and know that it is deservedly given as part of our vow. I, Renoturos, Britomapus Cimbrianus, present these offerings gladly and willingly, as promised, for my safe return and good experience traveling. We make these offerings to you today. May they be purified with salt, may they be rendered unusable to the mundane by this knife. Hail to you. We give praises and thanks. Thanks to the Sunriders. Thanks to the champions, the twin brothers, masters of day and night, Lord of the seasons, those worshipped above all. We thank you, and we give you great praises. Bratunte, my Alkoi. Bratunte, an Exclamata, whose flame we borrow. And Bratunte Carnonos, who is the one who taught us the formula of sacred ritual, the one who ensures that our prayers go where they should. We give praises to you, great and glorious ones all. We thank you. May all those wish depart now upon the extinguishing of the sacred flame. We give you great gratitude. The flame of Samos is extinguished. The flame of Gamos is extinguished. And the flame of Anexlomara. All right.
I feel like you've incorporated a lot of new elements since the last time I've seen you do a ritual. It really is lovely, as always, to see, how your practice like evolves, and how you've been incorporating different elements. Like I think something that was really great was the ritualistic breaking with a knife. Thought that was really cool.
It is very. Yes, of course. It's from a company that makes a lot of like Wiccan athmes, and this is definitely an athme, but it's styled after like a 2nd century Pugio, and it does have that little fake Damascus swirl for like extra pizzazz. But for a Gallo-Roman practice, it works incredibly well. And so the ritual, the symbolic act of destroying with a knife is something that I very much lifted from Cultus Deorum recently, because I'd been, as a Gallo-Roman, kind of struggling where the identity and the ritual format comes. But I really liked that element. And so I've been doing that recently quite frequently. And and it's a little bit different too, because I vocalized a lot of the things that I normally just do. And so explaining it this way, I think, was better. I always liked the 2 candles, one for Samos and one for Giamos, because fire to me is very liminal. It's a bridge. And by lighting one upwards and one downwards, kind of, sort of, the flame still goes upwards, but symbolically one goes up, one goes down. I think it allows for smoother communication with the various gods and dewas. So
yeah. I had another question. Who's the deity that you're invoking for sacred fire? I couldn't quite catch the name.
That is Anexlomara, and my pronunciation is probably slightly off. I know Carl has a slightly different one, but Carl. Anexlomara is attested only once, but she is a female version of Anexlomaros, who is a very popular Apollo cognate. And Anexlomara is found on a big plaque that used to be on a Gaulish city wall. And it was to the founder of the city and Anexlomara, the great protectress. And so from that, we've extrapolated a lot that she's a very, to go more Roman, a very Artemis type figure who is a lot more about the guardianship and protective nature. And we've also found a lot of close ties to Brigantia, and that's a lot more from the SR side. And so, like I said, a goddess like that that's barely attested, you do what you can with the name, and then you look to neighboring mythologies and you see what you can extrapolate, and then it's a lot of experiencing. And so Anexlomara has, and probably always will be, my hearth goddess, and the one that I attribute the eternal flame to.
That's, yeah.
Yep, and that's why it's that way too. And oh, delicious. My kid is serving me water and drinking their own water over there. So
I was wondering where the tiny teacup was coming from.
Yep, exactly. And that's the same with the but with the Alkoi as well. I mean, we know them from several descriptions, and there are a few inscriptions, and the linguistics have been extrapolated that we know for sure that Alkoi or Alcis, depending on your pronunciation, I'm not entirely married to one or the other, that's their name, but the individual names of both of the horse twins are very, very much up for grabs as well. So, Cenobesos Bolgoi has a really, really distinct naming scheme for both of them. But then ancient writers give us some other one too. So I wanted to keep that general, just so it could be anyone's Alkoi, really. Yeah, exactly. And so I switched around the altar as well. For this special rite, I decided to put them very much front and center. And so right down there is the little travel altar that I keep in my wallet when I travel. And right up there, of course, is the Gallo-ration one. It's an exact copy of a votive statue. And this is theorized to be one of the Alkoi, which in ration or Gallo-ration would have been called what we can extrapolate from the inscription to be Castri, which seems to be a sort of a spin on Castor and Pollux. It is an owl. It is an owl, which very much symbolizes a rider going into war. And we know that Minerva, who later became a Roman deity, but was originally actually an Etruscan original. Minerva, or my pronunciation is probably bad because I don't know a lot about Etruscan, but she was a local one. And you can see that imagery made itself over to the neighbors as well, because a lot of war motifs are adorned by owls. However, the actual votive find of this, the animal is actually cut off at the neck. So I'm unsure whether adding an owl head was an artistic interpretation of the person who made the reproduction, or if we actually know that that's what it originally looked like. So it's iffy on whether that was the original version of it. Yeah, you see right here is where it was cut off. So you see like the bottom part of a beak in all of the references I've pulled up, but I've never been able to find the top part. So like I said, I don't know if it's an exact reproduction or if the person just extrapolated from other media. Yeah. So yeah, and I hope that worked a little bit well. The formula too for the fulfillment of oaths, those are the most attested votive stones that we have, and there's always a mention of a personal name. And so normally I don't include that in ritual, but I felt it was very appropriate here.
Yeah, I was about to, that was like going to be kind of my next sort of talking point that I wanted to bring up, was that I thought that was a really valuable format to see played out, well, played out doesn't sound right, but like it's such a common phrase where it's like, this is given willingly and with like that Latin phrase ex voto, right?
Yep.
And it's so we see it all the time, and it's how we get like most of our attestations for certain deities, for certain appearances, like the votive offerings, personal names from Gallo-Roman times, and even pre-Gallo-Roman times, like or just Gaulish names and Germanic names, and just any kind of people who live within the greater Roman sphere of influence. It's really interesting to see it play out as a actual ritual that we can do in practice, where you had a specific offering that you made to begin with. You did your prayer and you said, listen, if I have a good trip, if I have a safe trip and I make it home safe, and all those conditions are fulfilled, then you'll get another special ritual at the end. And I just think that that's really just a way of like saying, hey, thanks for helping me out there.
Yep, exactly. And it was a whole great experience. And I'm playing around with doing writing up my experience there as if it was a Gaulish myth. So that's going to be really exciting. I'm going to play around with that a little bit and see if I'll have that ready in the next couple of weeks. but it was really, really good. And yeah, not only did everything that I asked for happen, but more so. And I especially needed it because 6 hours before I was supposed to be on the plane, my flight got canceled. So I was like, all
Oh
right,
no.
listen, we're going to need some help here with this because this trip's going to be, yeah, that
Hmm.
doesn't bode well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever feel encouraged to, use your name in ritual, I think that's always a really, really good point to do so is when you're giving the offering or right after saying this is given by or I blank give this
Hmm.
and I think it can be especially helpful when reaching out to, let's say, new dewas that you don't have maybe an established rapport with. Introducing yourself formally by name is a really personal touch, and I haven't seen it done all too much by people outside of Cultus Deorum, but I figured that it's applicable in these situations, like you said, because it kind of mimics a lot of the inscriptions.
That's not true.
It's not true. Pardon, hot news. I'm just being corrected by my 4-year-old, and they've just let me know that it's not true. So what is
Oh,
the truth?
oh.
What is the truth?
You have to poop on your dad.
Okay. Well, apparently the real truth is that it's mandatory to poop on your dad. So
Okay.
I like that. Yeah. Ooh. That's a good touch too. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a really good way of doing it.
Yeah, it also kind of points, makes it. I think, we have like in TG, we all choose a Gaulish name, and I think we've had a lot of conversations about why do we do this, and is it necessary to be a member of TG to have a Gaulish name, and is it a bit of an affectation? But I think having a name that you use to communicate with the deities and to sort of get yourself into that headspace, or get yourself into that ritualistic zone, and just sort of say, listen, this is a name that I use for basically ceremonial purposes. I don't think that that's a uniquely Galpal thing. Like, I mean, even when you
No,
look at like
no, no.
Catholic nuns, and Catholic priests, they take on a
The
saint's
Pope.
name frequently. Like that's a thing that people do, and I think that that's also really interesting. So I think both of your perspectives, Reno and Kuno, like really gave me some food for thought here on the name.
But I love what you're vocalizing, Maury, because as someone who's had a Gaulish name, a version that's entirely in Gaulish and a version that's, a bit more Gallo-Roman, but having basically ritual names, I think it's strange to me that it never occurred to be viewed in that context at all. So you hit on something that I'd never even thought of. I like that. Do you use your name at all in any ritual capacity, or is this new territory for you?
Oh, for me, it's definitely new territory. I mainly use my name as a way to keep my identity separated on different platforms.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But no, but I think definitely when I chose it, I did intend for it to be something that would be used for, maybe not that I had a specific idea in mind, but I did think this is going to be like a name that I'll use for religious purposes. But I just somehow I've never really pulled that connection down to, well, I could use it in a ritual purpose. I could use it in a I, Maury, offer freely and willingly this gift,
Yeah, that's really cool. I think we have some things to think about regarding names now, which is not where I thought it was going to go, but good observation. Yeah, thank you. Of course, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Reno.